a IDS-410. It is Sunday, March 15th, the Ides of March, and this is Module 3 announcement video. I hope everything's going all right. I've enjoyed talking to many of you on the phone and also reviewing your ideas and helping you out in ways that I feel you're going to be successful here, okay? Those of you who still are, either not reading the feedback or not watching this, I'm just going to keep, trying to get your attention. Hey, over here, which is what I do when I you notice many of you, I gave like 37 out of 50. You weren't the only one. It was a lot of people because I feel that getting your attention, letting you know the expectations that I put out in video and other ways that, we got to try to get on the same page, okay? If I shock you with a low score, know that that's usually just to get your attention, to address the feedback, and then we'll get you all squared away, okay? I just find it effective. So Module 3, it's got some interesting objectives here. Identify opportunities for social change within an issue. Notice how that's placed. Identify opportunities for social change within an issue. I yawn once in each video. So within an issue. So it's not just finding that issue, but looking for opportunities within that issue. Determine whether an aspect of a social issue is actionable. Can you do something about it, okay? What can you do about climate change right now? When you take it way down, yes, probably something, but you can't just hypothesize a global strategy to eliminate climate change. Explain why social change is needed based on the needs of a community. And that community, you'll find out later, if we haven't already did that, is defined by a small group. It could be a location. It could be a demographic, okay? It's a small community. Okay, there's a great reading to check into. How does social change happen? Really read that, okay? There are internal factors, external factors. Some of the internal factors include power and ideology. Okay, external factors could be like COVID, I think, was an external factor for social change. Intersocial factors are addressed as well. Big question, what if my issue feels too big? That's what we're trying to avoid, and I try to get right to it in Module 1. What if my issue feels too big? Once you look at it and say, I'm going to solve this, let's go back to that example in my first session taught. Let's go back to, I'm going to solve the Israel-Gaza war. No, you're not. What if my issue feels too big? That should feel too big, okay? The challenge is the issue. There's an issue itself is complex and overwhelming. So we're trying to bring it down to the complexities, lessen, and they're less overwhelming because you're not including everything. Another challenge, the range of actions is overwhelming. This is why we're taking it down to what kind of action can you focus on, right? And another challenge, you are focusing on what you think you should do instead of what you can do. That's the crux of my style of teaching this course. We're not going to sit back and focus on what we should do, because that easily becomes then what someone else should do, what you should do, what someone should do, okay? So I want you to think about what you can do. Respond to Siri by moving your head. Oh God, these AirPods. So that's important. There's required resources that include 2 readings and a video. There's some optional resources as well. I want to give you a note about Shapiro Library. Use the library. Don't just go to Google your topic and come up with somebody's blog or something, okay? Go to Shapiro Library online. Search your criteria, vary it, do multiple searches, different criteria. Filter for peer-reviewed and filter for full text online, and you can't go wrong. At least you'll have suitable sources, okay? And not a blog spot, not just government data, not a newspaper, not Investopedia, Wikipedia, anypedia, okay? for your discussion board this week, it's worth 75 points. And I want to emphasize that because many of them are. That's almost a full grade level. So I do expect a certain amount of depth and substance in your discussion post. You're going to be addressing 3 criteria that's in the rubric. Those 3 are numbered. Those 3 each have bolded terms. Remember what I like to say. Get those bolded terms in your discussion board as subheadings. Okay, briefly describe the social issue that you choose for your project. Social issue is bolded. Explain why social change is needed based on the needs of a community affected by the social issue. Again, social change is bolded. And then describe social change that would benefit that community. And there you have it. Social issue, social change, and benefit. All right, then there's only a single response post required. So don't just throw out like 2 or 3 that are pretty shallow. I'd rather see one good one with substance, because that's the minimum, right? That's the requirement. So look at the short paper then. You're going to be looking at an element, importance, impact, opportunity for social change, social changes. Those are 5 criteria for your short paper. It's going to be 2 to 3 pages, Microsoft Word, 12-point times, New Roman, double spacing, 1-inch margins. Use at least one source to support your paper. Sources should be cited according to APA style both throughout and at the end of your paper. Yeah, I mean, okay. If everybody wants to learn about citations and you're going on to grad school, you're not going to get away with not knowing that. I always think of Purdue OWL. Go to Purdue OWL, just Google Purdue, as in the university, and owl, as in the bird. Purdue OWL will show you the APA 7th edition and give you some great answers to any question you have, or you can email me, of course, all right? I want to touch before I go on the IDS and IDS-410. Who knows what it means? I do, pick me. IDS is interdisciplinary studies. So perhaps you were around at SNHU, or perhaps you weren't, when there was an actual IDS program, interdisciplinary studies. I came after it, okay? But my academic credentials are in interdisciplinary studies from here on out, called IDS. I got my bachelor's in IDS, my master's in IDS, okay? So what is that, and why is it important for this course? Because IDS is like a 21st century method, academic style of primarily solving problems in the 21st century. As you know, you've gone through, all schooling throughout life, and you've had subjects, you've had disciplines, you've had English, math, geometry, science, music, whatever. Those are disciplines. We envision those in academia as silos of learning, different silos of learning. Learning gets dumped in that silo of whatever, engineering, math. And rarely do those silos cross into each other. Academics in their field stay in their lane. It's their lane of expertise. IDS, however, there's a number of practitioners and people who have started theorizing IDS for years and have gone through processes of problem solving using IDS. And we're allowed to go anywhere. We're just maniacs out there in academia. We can cross boundaries, boom, 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 and look at anything. When I was teaching IDS, and IDS at Arizona State, you had to choose 2 concentrations. Mine were African and African American studies and human rights. Okay, and then you study in those, and you get your overall interdisciplinary studies degree with concentrations. So I was in the program teaching then, and I taught a class just like this, almost exactly. But students, I would find, they would have their concentrations completely varied. For example, physical therapy and dance, geometry and geology, things that you wouldn't actually connect, but they wanted to put things together. Because with interdisciplinary studies, we integrate. We don't do multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary means, I study math, I study geometry, I study engineering, I study this. No, that's multidisciplinary. But interdisciplinary means I put math, geometry, geology, engineering, and I integrate them. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, one respects boundaries, the other one says, bring it. I'm gonna show you. I used the analogy of a highway going in south of Phoenix here, the 202. Took forever to design what they were going to do to get a bypass around the southern end. Well, maybe back in the day when they could just take, dirt road and horse-drawn carriages, whatever, great. But now in the 21st century, you can't just line it up and say, let's throw down the asphalt. You got to look at a lot of things. You got to look at the environment because it's so damn hot here, okay? You want to look at sustainability. You've got environmental sustainability. You might have some toad that uses that to mating or something. You can't blast right through it. You've got civil engineering. You've got political science because you had eminent domain. You had people that had to move out of their house because the government said we're plowing right through here. Okay, political science also because it borders on the Native American land nation, and some of it's going to cut in there. So you got to have that going for you. So solving a problem 21st century requires a lot more than lining it up. It requires looking at different things. Now, the supervisor could have a specialist here, and get all the reports, and they have to integrate it. So somewhere along the line, integration occurs. This is what IDS is, okay? And it's very important to understand that because you're taking a course like that. The flip side, the difficulty of this academic specialty is it's way broad. You have to decide your own parameters. Sometimes you have to put the blinders on and say, I could just keep looking at disciplines forever. But you got to decide where are my parameters. That's a hard part too. And sometimes you find that when your problem is too complex. You think it's too complex. You think it's too general. Okay, so that's about it for this week. I appreciate your viewing. I wish you a lot of luck. I'm looking forward to looking at your Module 2 proposals tomorrow. Please check the feedback. Get a hold of me if we talk about some things to correct and keep going forward, okay? That's it, 12 and a half minutes. I'm getting better at this, I guess. Peace out.